Hello again, everybody. Alongside Joey Dwyer, I'm Billy Derrick, and we are live here from FirstBank Stadium in Nashville for last-minute thoughts ahead of today's matchup. It's the Kentucky Wildcats and the Vanderbilt Commodores, 11 a.m. kickoff on the SEC Network. Joey, it's a beautiful day. It's going to get a little bit hotter. The sun's going to be out. No weather delay, though. And knock on wood, you knocked on wood, so I think that saved us here. That's the thing I'm looking at here. No, I'm kidding. But I think that is nice to be able to have a nice, beautiful day to where you can, stay away from any sort of delay.
Yeah, it also feels like a day where you can really throw the football, and Vanderbilt's going to need to do that. It feels like this is a game that could potentially turn into a shootout just because Kentucky has that high-powered passing attack that they've tried to implement a little bit. Ray Davis is obviously a huge component of their offense, and I'm sure we'll get to him, but Kentucky has really thrived on airing it out. Davis hasn't got that many carries in their first couple games, and Vanderbilt, to compete with that offense, feels like it needs to throw it up and down the field. Like, it's shown flashes of being able to do. Hasn't quite done that to this point, but it feels like today may be the day where Vanderbilt could maybe play 4 quarters of productive football where they throw the ball down the field really the entire day, and I think that's the thing that could put Vanderbilt over the edge today if it can go and get a win.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see offensively if Vanderbilt has changed anything, right? We've seen what A.J. Swan has been able to do. I thought he played a cleaner game last week. But, you look defensively at Kentucky, they take pride in their defense, right? So I think that's the first thing I'm watching. How aggressive is Vanderbilt offensively? And Joey, they put up 37 points last week, right? I mean, this offense can score. And I told somebody yesterday that I think this offense will be in a lot of shootouts this year. Right now, how many of them can they win, right? And is this team comfortable winning those at this moment? Obviously, they've got to play cleaner, but I'm interested to see offensively how aggressive they play, how many shots down the field are they taking.
Right, and I think this is a team that you're able to do it against. Kentucky has really struggled in that secondary at times. The pass rush is obviously miles better than Vanderbilt's has been thus far. That's probably one of the strengths of their roster, but the secondary is still a question for Kentucky. I think Vanderbilt can really take advantage of that, considering Vanderbilt's real strength is its receivers. Will Shepard, London Humphreys, Jaden McGowan have all made huge impacts this year. Even Quincy Skidder caught a touchdown last week. So it feels like Vanderbilt, if it's going to stay in this game, it's going to be behind that passing game, and I'm not sure whether Vanderbilt's going to be able to protect A.J. Swan enough or if he'll be able to make enough decisions to win this game. But there's a path, and it includes Vanderbilt throwing for 300 yards and maybe scoring 4 touchdowns through the air. I don't know if the rush game will be able to really get going today, but the passing game is what's going to have to carry Vanderbilt, and there's a non-zero chance that happens, Billy.
Yeah, and Joey, I want to go back to what I talked about with clean football, right? This team has not really played a clean football game yet, right? I think they've had 10 fumbles in the last 2 games total. They haven't lost all of them, right? They haven't ended up costing them. I think they had 5 fumbles. They lost 3 of them last week. Obviously, AJ, his interceptions weren't costly. I thought that was an improved week for him in terms of interception throwing. But all of a sudden, you see a special teams whatever that word is, special teams mistake.
It's early.
Yeah, it is early. That you just didn't expect, right? The snap from Schelling hits Justin Ball, and UNLV gets it. They end up scoring a touchdown. So I think special teams is another thing I look at today. Can Vanderbilt clean that up? Because they've taken pride in that under Justin Lustig throughout Clark Lee's tenure. And I think if they win the special teams battle today, whatever that means, right? I think that just means playing clean on special teams. If they can do that, I think Vanderbilt gives themselves a better chance to win.
Yeah, and it gives itself a chance. I don't know that single-handedly wins the game, but what could keep them in this game, like you mentioned, it's just small things done well, and Vanderbilt hasn't done that to this point. That's been what we've talked about all season. I'm getting a little tired of talking about small things done well and small things, frankly, not done well throughout the year. That's really cost Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt is similarly talented to Kentucky, but if it plays the way it did at Wake Forest or against UNLV, I think Kentucky runs them off the field, and I don't think that's a super hot take. If Vanderbilt turns it over 5 times or 4 times, this is going to be a really, really difficult game for them to win, especially against what Kentucky has offensively with its receivers, with Ray Davis, with Devin Leary. This is going to be a really tough game for Vanderbilt. It's going to have to play, like Clark Lee has always mentioned, with small margins and winning in those small margins. I don't know if it can do that this week, but that's the path to winning. That and a competent passing attack are the path to winning. Do we have much optimism that can happen? I'm not 100% sure, but it feels like if it's going to click, today kind of has to be the day for it. This is one of their best chances to win an SEC game, and it's going to take a near-perfect performance in the margins, but also in the passing game.
All right, we talked about Vanderbilt's offense, their special teams. Defensively, obviously they've got their hands full with the Kentucky offense led by Devin Leary, Ray Davis. They've got 3 receivers that I really like and I enjoy watching. I think they're really good players, Barryon Brown, Dane Key, and Tavion Robinson. They've got a couple of good tight ends. They like their offensive line. So you look at this offense, and obviously Vanderbilt has had to face so many different styles of offenses, and I think that's been a challenge. But Kentucky, and Clark Lee said this, he said they're a little bit more conservative, balanced, normal, right? They haven't faced, a normal offense. They faced the slow mesh in Wake Forest. UNLV, you saw some 2 running back sets. And then, Hawaii, of course, the run and shoot. So I think Vanderbilt is probably happy and relieved to see a little bit more normal of an offense, but that doesn't mean it's a slouch, right? Ray Davis is a guy that obviously was here last year, and that's the storyline, right? I think if Vanderbilt can contain him in the ground game for Kentucky, you force Leary to throw the football. I think that's what you probably have to do. Can they? That's another question. But Joey, Leary and Ray Davis have been their guys this year, but they've also got really good receivers as well that Vanderbilt's going to have to deal with.
Yeah, it's maybe the most vanilla offense Vanderbilt has seen this year, but it's probably the best. Yeah. And I think Kentucky maybe hasn't produced at the level that it's capable of, but they can certainly do that today if Vanderbilt can't get the pass rush and its corners struggle again. Those are receivers that can really make your corners struggle, and Vanderbilt's corners have not struggled against receivers like that. They've struggled against receivers who are a tier below that, so it's a little concerning there. Also, I think this is probably the best running game Vanderbilt has seen, although Kentucky doesn't utilize it quite as much as Wake Forest did against Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt's going to try to force Kentucky to maybe lean on it a little bit more, but I don't know that Kentucky really is going to be really fazed by anything Vanderbilt does defensively, and that's probably my concern, is that just Vanderbilt's defense is going to have to keep it in the game somehow, and maybe bend don't break doesn't, or maybe bend don't break works, but otherwise I don't really see a path to Vanderbilt kind of staying in this game with its defense. It's going to have to be a shootout where its offense kind of takes the lead here.
Lastly here, Joey, injury report. I know you talked to Clark Lee on Thursday, and I don't know how much of a fresh report he gave, but guys I'm looking at and seeing, early on in the warm-up, seeing if they're actually dressed. Derrick Wright, Jalen Mahoney, C.J. Taylor, he should be good to go. A lot of these guys are banged up, but right before the game, if they're a game-time decision, I think you're pretty confident they will go as long as they're dressed. A.J. Swan, Clark said he's good to go. Any other guys you're watching? For me, it's Derrick Wright and Jalen Mahoney, right? And if they can't go, it starts to get a little hairy. But for me, I'm looking at those 2 guys.
Yeah, that's really what I'm watching as well. I think those are maybe Vanderbilt's 2 most important players defensively today, just in terms of kind of containing Kentucky's pass game. And I don't know if I'm super optimistic Vanderbilt can do that otherwise, especially with some of the injuries it has in terms of depth. But it feels like Vanderbilt needs those 2 guys. I don't know how healthy Derrick Wright will be, even if he can play. Clark Lee's described him as a warrior, but it feels like he's had a little bit of a setback recently, just in terms of, his injury. A.J. Swan's health is something I'm also monitoring. He's going to play, but it feels like he had a setback on Wednesday in terms of his health. Had a good day Tuesday. I think he had a good day Thursday as well, but I'm really interested to see kind of how he progresses throughout the day and whether he's 100%.
We'll see. Obviously, the injuries will be huge for Vanderbilt to watch. This is Joey Dwyer. I'm Billy Derrick. Kickoff coming at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can watch it on the SEC Network. You've been watching another edition of Last Minute Thoughts.